Welcome to the Laurent Collective podcast, where we go deeper than just surface talk.
Each week, we'll explore everything from family, business, creativity, culture, and faith.
To make sure not to miss an episode, be sure to subscribe and hop on to Instagram at Laurent Collective to chat with us about this episode.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, guys?
We are back, and this time I am over the cold that I had the last recording. I apologize for
thank
the
goodness.
sneezing and the coughing. That's just real life.
You had that for a while, so I'm
It
thankful
kind of
that it's
lingered.
over.
But we are going to be talking to you creative business owners, really business owners in general. And we're going to bring up a word that I personally don't like talking about yet because it's not even, it's still far. Well, I guess it's less than 100 days away now. And-
Yeah, well, I guess when this is going to come out, I think it's still September.
Well, true. Yeah. Or October, September, October.
Yeah, I can't- yeah.
But basically, we're going to bring up the word Christmas.
Yes.
We are going to talk about Christmas. And if you are not a business owner, still tune in because these are things that, like, for some reason, because of our culture and everything like that, Christmas brings up excitement, but it also brings up kind of a little bit of dread of like, ugh, it's going to be busy, it's going to be stressful, things like that.
Yeah.
And, especially who knows this year, like obviously Christmas was very different last year with COVID. There's so many unknowns this year with Christmas with COVID. But we thought we would just specifically, put some things that we're doing right now to prep for Christmas that we have done in the past and things that we haven't done in the past that we're choosing to do this year.
Yeah. I think we're trying to be better prepared, but I don't know if
Yes.
that's ever like truly can happen. I don't know.
I think
Yeah.
it can.
Yeah, I guess.
So the thing is about the Christmas season, and in case you're not a business owner, especially somebody maybe that your product sales go up in Q4, and that kind of thing. So, you're shipping things out, you have people having orders, that kind of thing. It's just a busier time of year because people are shopping for Christmas gifts. And if that's something you offer, as you enter into that time frame, it's always, at least for us, we're always like, it's fine, we got it. And then towards the late part of November hits and it's just like, I don't think we can function anymore. And you've got a couple more weeks of like ordering season, if you will,
it's
of gifting
technically
season.
not even, Christmas season yet.
Exactly. And so this year we've really been thinking, last year there was a lot of unexpected things because of COVID. And it was, it was a year that was very different for our business during that time. In particular, like things we may have gone to in person and stuff like that,
yeah.
markets and all that kind of thing. There was none of that. And then, we actually didn't know what to expect when it came to sales, and there was shipping issues and all that kind of stuff. And so having experienced that was actually good because now it's making us think ahead.
Well, and I think too,
for
I think
this
last
time.
time when we were trying to prepare last year, because there was so many unknowns, we tried to really think about what is the constants? What are the constants right now? Like, what are the things that we know are going to happen? And so we kind of tried to rejig some of the things around what we do in our business wise around those constants rather than maybe doing what we typically would have done.
Yes, exactly.
And so I think, now going into another Christmas season when COVID's still around, like we're trying to like navigate through the unknown again, but also like things look different than they did last year. So it's again, just rethinking a lot of that stuff.
So what can you be doing now? What can you be doing now, number one, to prep your business? And what can you be doing to prep yourself and make sure that you don't, the worst thing, and we have done it so many years, so we're speaking from experience. The worst thing is that, you have this huge, massive, busy season for your business, and then you have like a date where it slows down because it does have a point where things kind of taper off a little bit, or you have a date that you have said, which we'll talk about later, like I'm done after this.
Yeah.
And that happens, and then you enter into those, that first week before Christmas or the few days before Christmas, and you're exhausted, or whatever holiday you might celebrate in December and that kind of thing. Like, you are absolutely exhausted, and then you just want to sleep all the time or do whatever because you have no bandwidth left. And then that's a horrible place to be in too. And so we'll talk about a couple of things to like set yourself up personally as well. But first, on the business side of things, here's some things we're doing right now. We're a little, I'll be honest, like
I feel like we're behind.
We are behind. I was just going to say that we are behind. I would have preferred to been taking care of this stuff in like July and August. But we were traveling during that time to visit the States and stuff like that. And so this has been pushed to now. And in fact, we probably should have done the beginning of the month, but kids started school. So whatever. Yep. If you're in the same place as we are, like, take a deep breath. It's going to be okay. Like, you're not behind. It's fine. You know, again,
what everyone else is telling you or the stores are telling you, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
it will be okay.
Take a deep breath. Yeah.
So if you are there, or maybe you're in the middle of prepping for Christmas for your business and stuff, we thought we would just give you some things that we are doing that are things to be thinking about right now. And the obvious one, it feels like it's obvious, but like, what products do you want to offer for Christmas? Are you just offering the same that you have, or are you adding additional products? And that could be if you're selling something online, like a service, or if you, because, you know, there are a lot of business people that will buy things towards the end of the year because they want to start a course or something, and learning something in January. Or, you know, you're selling physical products. Like for us, that's, you know, prints, mugs, shirts, hoodies, like all of that stuff, and that kind of thing. And so what are those things that you want to have ready to go, and then ready and set up on your website? That is the first place to start. And then anything that is seasonal, right? Because we've offered stuff seasonal. And thinking of that, if it's the same thing you offered last year, did you learn something last year that you now need to take into account?
Do you want to tweak whatever that product was or that thing was? Like,
Well, and as you talk about like reskinning, whatever, that's such a weird phrase. I don't know what the right phrase is there. Looking at it a little bit differently. Also think about, like, if you were in business last year, think about the struggles that you ran into last year with COVID. And so, you know, for us, shipping was an issue. It may be, like, I know several people who are makers out there that create like hand paint on Christmas ornaments or baubles. And hearing from a couple people already, they're having a massive issue because normally they just would order those now and they're on back order and they may not get them in time. So again, if that's you, take a deep breath. It will be okay. Like, think creatively, but do look into anything that you may be thinking about. Like, oh, well, normally I would just order that in October or something like that to be ready for the season. Think about ordering it now, because there are, like, the whole world is experiencing weird, like, product delays, shipping delays, things like that. And so be thinking about that right now. And because if you think about it now and you realize something's not available, you can come up with a plan B. If you don't realize that until October or November or something, you're going to be really stressed out and that kind of thing. So that would be like really thinking about what you, and that goes down to everything, even to like the packaging. Like, I have started already ordering some things for our advent calendars that we usually offer, just because, like, before you could order something and it would come the next day, and like maybe that will still be the case, but I'm not sure. And so I just want to be prepared. So think of all those materials, everything, the packaging, all that stuff, and go ahead and get it now.
Any physical thing that you might need in order to, you know, create the offering that you have, you might need to double check and see what kind of shipping, and if things are out of stock or in stock. You know, you really want to evaluate that stuff right now, if you already haven't, or if you haven't already, because again, the whole world is experiencing this. It's not just like a couple places, I think. So
yeah, exactly. And then you don't want to, sometimes paying for expedited shipping doubles the cost of your product, and then are you making a profit and stuff?
Even thinking outside the box. So if it is something that you are seeing that is like something that's out of stock or something like that, is there somebody in your local area, somebody that you could really start a relationship with that, you know, maybe can make the same thing? And
true.
Maybe it's a little bit higher of a price point, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you couldn't charge a little bit more or whatever. But, you know, that could force you into some really cool relationships. Maybe.
Yeah, so be creative in it.
Yeah, just be open. I think
open.
If that is, again, take a deep breath and you know, think of it in a new way if you need to, and things like that. So yeah.
Exactly. So so really think about what all goes into your product and what all you need that you normally would include things, everything down to the packaging. And then also be thinking about, you know, when do you want to launch it? Like, we have a date. And this is where we're like, gosh, we should have started earlier. All the churn reports and stuff right now are saying people are already ordering Christmas stuff, which I
Yes.
can't get my mind around.
Even like Christmas cards, I think,
Yeah.
are the big thing. at the
Christmas
moment.
cards
Yeah.
and ornaments and decorations are being ordered right now, as well as people are starting to order gifts because at least here in the UK, and then I've seen it a little bit in other articles and stuff too, like articles are saying like just in case, start thinking about Christmas now so that you don't have gifts in mind and then
Just
you can't
in
get them,
case.
and that already gets a little bit of a red flag because that's not normally what you hear. But because of shipping things, and maybe certain products not being available and stuff like that, so that's something to think about. Like, when do you want to launch everything that you would like to have ready for Christmas, and like have a date and for if you have a website or you sell on Etsy or anything like that involves all kinds of like getting the product listing up and the keywords and all that stuff. So it takes a bit of work. And then after you've gone through that, then it is thinking about like, all right, well, how are you promoting those things now? Whether it's a newsletter or it's social media or it's pins to Pinterest or whatever that is I know what we've done in the past. It's kind of always been like on the fly of,
Right.
oh gosh, like we should probably talk about that again and stuff like that. Where what I'm trying to do this year is, I mean, it sounds crazy, but for October and November and December, like having a general, I mean, of course things can change and stuff, but having a general good plan of like when I want to think about doing those things and when we want to be posting and what we want to be saying and that kind of thing. Again, because when you're in the moment and you're packaging a bunch of orders and you realized, oh, I haven't sent a newsletter out in 3 weeks. I should probably tell people about my Christmas shipping deadlines. Like then that feels like an added stress on top of things when you could probably write that now if you can figure out when your deadlines are going to be. It's just doing work up front, right?
Yeah, that and actually just making that decision. Like, there might be certain things towards the end where you might, fudge a few things, or like, say, oh well, I said it was going to be this date, but like I know there's a couple orders that are coming in that I can still get out, or whatever it is. I think giving yourself hard deadlines and hard, dates that you can really stick to, I think help relieve some of that stress in the moment, especially if you tend to end up being somebody that does things on the fly a lot more than you really want to. So if you're thinking about things right now, like start to think about those deadlines, start thinking about those dates of like, this is my last day I'm going to ship things. This is my last date that I want to be creating things. This is my last, thinking about all those kind of things right now, which then you can backtrack from those dates and say, okay, well, if that's the last day for this, then I need to have this, and this done before this date, that kind of thing. So I think it's just helpful. It's just helpful to understand deadlines. I know for me as the creative side of things, I struggle with like deadlines because when I'm creating, I tend to keep tinkering and keep tweaking and all that kind of stuff because I might not feel if it's quite the right way I want it. And then my deadlines are kind of foggy and I don't necessarily stick to certain things. And so with this time of year, sticking to those deadlines and making them early so you can understand them a little bit more might help, in the process and that kind of thing. So I think it's just, I think what you were saying, Maya, is just making sure those deadlines are set and those are hard deadlines and you stick to them as best you can, I think will relieve a lot of stress.
And I know this all might seem like, well, of course, if you set deadlines and you prepare ahead of time and stuff like that, but we're just saying it because even though, we've been in business for 14 years, we have to remind ourselves of this stuff as Christmas season approaches every year. And as we have offered more products and stuff, like when we just offered prints, it was pretty simple to keep track of things. But now that we offer more things and that kind of stuff, there's just, we offer a seasonal product, a couple things that we've not done before. So we've just learned a lot in that. And again, prepping as much as you can ahead of time will relieve some of that stress. Because things, no matter how much prepping you do, things are going to happen, like I said, last year, we shipped a bunch of stuff to the States and some of the stuff, like, I don't know what was going on with post when it arrived to the States, but it was just going missing. And it was so frustrating because we had done everything on time. We were like, oh, it'll arrive early. And it just was, it was so annoying. Yeah. And so, and it was, we had a specific amount of a product too, that we didn't have that much extra. and that kind of thing. So those are the kind of things. Stress things will happen, but if you can prep as much as you can, it helps when those things come up that you're like, oh, not all these other balls are falling down as well. I'm juggling all these things and that kind of thing. So, but then there's the aspect of like you personally during that time. I said I wasn't going to cough and then I got a tickle in my throat. Excuse me. Go ahead and talk about like how they can prep for personal stuff.
Yeah, I think again, it's just that idea of understanding how you want the month of December in some ways, especially if you have a family or if you're in a relationship or whatever, like you want to look at that month and say, I want to be able to be with those people. I want to be with the people that I love and care about, and I want to be present. I think that's the biggest thing, is making sure that, all of us want to be present with those people around that time, especially because a lot of times these are family or friends or people that we just don't see very often during the year. And that, these are really special times in a lot of ways. And so, especially after the last 2 years of Christmas and not being,
if you
for
get
some
to
of
see
us,
people this year,
not being able to see certain people and all that kind of stuff. And so I think, personally setting yourself up and really understanding if you can do a lot of this front end work and getting you to this point, hopefully there are always going to be things that show up, but hopefully you've set yourself up where you can have a bit of breathing room in that month of December, that you don't feel like you're so overworked and so exhausted and so tired that you might actually enjoy some of those other things, or work parties or like family events or things like that you typically might feel very extremely stressed because those are taking up time away from business stuff.
Well, but I don't think, sorry, I'm going to like backfire on you a little bit. Yeah. Don't just wait till the month of December. So what this looks like what this looks like is like setting up time now. Again, this might seem crazy, but like go into your November and December and like set days off now, like write it on your calendar and put it in there, because otherwise it's gonna be like, oh, well, I'll just package more orders on Saturday. I'll go ahead and do that on Sunday too. Or tonight I'm going to do that again. And then you realize like you've had no time off. And then when something stressful does come up or an unexpected, you're even more heightened because you've had no downtime. So it's scheduling downtime, and again we speak from experience, because here the first year we offered these advent calendars. We're like, oh, we're doing this and stuff, and then we obviously were doing it with our family and our kids, and then we realized we had like 2 weeks of Advent activities that we had not done with our kids at all because we were so busy with work stuff that we were like, we're offering this Advent calendar to people because we want them to like have intentional time. And it's not like the activities we have are that much time to spend anyways on them. But we've said this thing of like, this is so great to spend time with family. And then we're not even able to use it because, And so that was a big eye opener for us of like, we should be able to do a 15-minute activity. Now, some of them are watching movies, so that would be longer. But still, we should be able to watch a movie in an evening with our kids. There's a red flag if that's the stuff that we can't do during that season. And so right now, like, get out your calendar, make it something that's easy to remember, too. Like, if it's like, because we end up working in the evenings a lot during that season, and that's okay. Again, it's a season and we know that. However, what we did last year is we said something about like every Wednesday, like it's an absolute no, like that's our night off to just relax after the kids go to bed and to do whatever it is, that you read a book, watch a show, whatever it may be that is relaxing to you, that kind of thing, and put it in now, because otherwise you will not hold, and then you have to hold yourself accountable to it. Maybe you are going to work one of the weekend days, like fine, put the other one in there now that you are not going to touch anything of work-wise that day, the other day. And that seems crazy to actually put it into your calendar, but I have found that number one, then we don't schedule other things. And number two, it protects your time. And I mean, we have heard from so many friends before in the past of like, I feel like we're not present for friends during that time either. And so like just remembering that, yes, there's, however you do your shipping and everything, there's orders to get out and there's all that and that type of thing. But also like you have to protect yourself. You have to protect your peace of mind and everything, and your rest and your body and all of that during that time as well. Otherwise,
Yeah, I guess
You're so burnt out.
I think the biggest thing is just not end up having so many rough seasons, like, you know, that you're just completely exhausted, will like create a real like dread in this time of year in some ways. You know, if you don't set boundaries, you don't set timelines that are accessible and available. And yes, again, like I said, there's plenty of times where things come up and change and tweak and all that kind of stuff. But if you can kind of keep that framework as best you can, hopefully that ability to be present in, you know, in the next couple of months with people and for yourself and those kind of things will actually make the season one go a lot more smoother probably for you, but also you're going to enjoy it way better, which is going to create more of an energy and excitement for next year or for another season that's going to be coming up that you're creating, or you're getting things ready for your business and things like that. So, so you hopefully can kind of flip the cycle on its head a little bit and create more of an excitement and a time of, you know, inspired creativity, if that makes any sense.
Well, and celebrate too.
Yeah.
Like, take time to, you know, when you're in a season like Christmas season in a business, we often just rush by everything, and like celebrate the fact that like you are taking stuff to the post office and these orders are going out to people who are giving them as gifts or sending these Christmas cards or whatever it may be that your product is. Like, celebrate that too. Like, that's huge. That's very fun. That is, you know, what most of us creatives are in it for, is like having some kind of impact out in the world, even if it's just a smile from a Christmas card sent from a friend. Like, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I'm guilty of that too, of like when we're packaging orders and stuff like that, that it's like, oh, okay, yes, like these, you know, advent calendars are, you know, when we got the advent calendars last year, our whole family kind of like put them all together because we had to collate them and things like that. And then as I was packaging them, I kept thinking like some people ordered like 5 of them and they were giving them as gifts and stuff like that. And I was like, how cool is this that families are doing this together? And that kind of thing. But I think too often we just get caught in like the rhythm of it. And we don't take time to celebrate that fact too. So celebrate the fact that like you are packaging orders and things like that. I mean, gosh, a lot of us probably appreciate that more than anything right now in businesses. But just taking that time too. And that way, even if it is busy, even if something stressful comes up, there's still that kind of like that gratitude and thankfulness in it of, oh, like people are like getting these stuff and it's worth it and that kind of thing. And then, I mean, my last piece of advice, or our last piece of advice, would be like, do set a deadline. Like, say if you order after this, I may get it to you, but you're not going to have it in time for Christmas, and people won't read it. Put it on your website, put it on your listings, whatever it may be where you need to put it. But I will tell you, even when you set a deadline, people will still order. I mean, we had somebody contact us last year from the United States on Christmas Eve asking if they could get it by Christmas on Christmas Eve day, like in that morning, if they could get it by Christmas day. And I was like, no. And we even have the way we do some of our shipping, and we have some of our products that it ships. If it's something in the United States, it ships in the United States from the United States. But I was like, the place is closed down. They're off to, you know, like, no, I'm sorry. If you read our thing, like our information, it says like this was the deadline. And, you know, I would really think about what that deadline is this year too. If you're promising somebody as much as you can promise, you know, you're not in control of shipping stuff, that they're going to have something by Christmas, really look into what things are saying right now and then keep an eye on that, because you may need to adjust that as things get closer to Christmas. But having some kind of deadline too, because then that tells you mentally, like, I'm done then. Like, if orders come in, I don't have to be shipping them out every day. I can do back to my normal rhythm or whatever it may be. But that gives you a time slot that you like, or I mean, a lot of people will even put their business, like some of their stuff on holiday or things like that. Or like, if you order after this date, I'm not shipping it till January 1st. I mean, again, those are some of the choices you can make to take true time off during that time, during the holiday season. So that's another idea to, well, for sure, put on shipping deadlines, but then have an order deadline as far as like after this. I mean, you are allowed to take time off as a creative business owner as well, and you should.
Yeah, and I think I think if you're struggling to figure out some of those things, like Maya said too, like, you know, look online, see what things are saying, but also if you know somebody else in the same industry that you're in, like, see what they're doing, see
Oh,
what they're
true.
thinking. Like, definitely reach out to other people, reach out to us, like whatever it is. I think, especially if you're going through this season for the first time or whatever, I think it's definitely, feel free to reach out to others that have done it or that are doing it as well, right alongside you. So you can, lean on them a little bit more to see what they're thinking, and does that work for you, or does it not, and that kind of thing. So I think it's just, again, yeah, don't feel like you have to just come up with this random number or this random thing. Like, reach out to people, see what things are saying online, what people are saying, or even if you're dealing with vendors and different things like that, call vendors
What are they
and
saying?
see,
Yes.
what are they thinking and what are they looking at and things like that. So I think it's just, or if you if you have a print or something that you need to ship, talk to the post office and say, hey, like, I'm thinking about Christmas. What are you guys hearing? Like, talk to the people behind the desk. They're going to know some information probably already as well. So yeah, I think it's just that kind of stuff. So I think, setting boundaries right now, and definitely, leaning into deadlines and setting them for yourselves, and hopefully that will set you up to be present in a lot of ways this season, with those around you, and that you'll enjoy the season and you'll be excited about and inspired by that. And yeah, hopefully the creative juices will be flowing.
It's the gift giving season, and it is supposed to be joyful and everything. And unfortunately, as business owners, like, just the logistics and all the other things can like suck that joy out of it. And so hopefully these things that we have given you some just tips, I guess, of, some things to be doing now to prep for it, some things to like hold and guard your personal time and your well-being during that season. Really think about those things. We'd love to hear your feedback too. What have you learned during those past seasons? If you've been in business, a couple years or more and that kind of thing, what are things that have been really helpful for you? Because we, like I said, we're not perfect in it either. And so we're still learning, but we'd love to share the advice with others too. So do drop us a message and let us know, and would love to chat with you. Or like Pat said, reach out if you need advice on any of the things too, or things that we have found helpful. We'd love to help you.
Yeah.
But don't dread it. The Christmas season and a holiday season is a fun season in business. It's just, you've got to make sure that you focus on some things to be prepared for it, but also that you then experience the joy of it too, that you don't miss out on the joy.
So I think can we say that you can start listening to Christmas music yet, or no?
I mean, I feel like I don't understand how you were designing Christmas cards without listening to Christmas music.
I mean, I eventually did, but it was hard actually. So it was
so
helpful.
Put on some Christmas music. Yeah. It's okay. We won't judge you. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes, go listen to Christmas music, and we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of the Laurent Collective podcast. If you enjoyed today's podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave a review, which helps others find our podcast. Continue the conversation with us over on Instagram at Laurent Collective.
We look forward to going deeper than just surface talk with you again next week.